I hope, dude. Be lit. All right, we're here. Before we get started, thank you to everyone that listened to the first episode. I got a lot of good feedback from friends and acquaintances that they said they enjoyed listening to Dylan and I's conversation from last week, which I enjoyed it too. Dylan did. Max did, of course.
Pretty good.
We were just out here vibing, right? You know what it is. Keep tuning in. Keep liking, subscribing to the channel, liking it on Instagram. Share it to your Instagram story. Tell people that you know about it. It's just, we're just here. We're seemingly normal people having great conversation. Not normal though, because we are extraordinary humans.
We're great, man.
Not to boast. Yeah, we're just people out here trying to process life, same as you. So that's what we talk about on No Small Talk, right? For today's episode, it's a Sunday evening, August 8th, 9th. Fuck up the dates.
The 9th, maybe.
But I'm joined here today by another roommate of mine who we roomed with last year also, 2 years running, Maxwell Hall. I don't know if you wanted the well in there.
Yeah, use the full name.
Max Hall is someone that I met around 2.5, 3 years ago from this moment, and we have butted into this very genuine friendship, I think. So yeah, that's Max. Max, go ahead and give a formal hello to the camera.
Hello to everyone.
There it is. All right. First, before we start, I do want to say that this right here was done by this man. We got out of the shower. My hair was extremely long. I said,
"Oh, the haircut?
Let's chop a little bit. Let's chop a little bit of it off, right?" We chopped a couple things, back, sides. I was like, "All right, let's do a 1/4 inch off the bangs." Max said, "Fuck it, we're doing 1 inch."
I couldn't judge it.
Then we just had to fix it from there, but we're all good. Still looking sexy.
Yeah, I said he was gonna get what he paid for, and it was free. So if anyone else is looking for a haircut in the Athens area,
or any
I'll
area,
mess you up. And I'll travel.
We will fly Max out to your location.
You gotta supply the clippers. We don't have supplies. We're not there yet.
And the air fee.
Yeah, you gotta pay for my hotel too, and food, room and board.
But the haircut is free.
Yeah,
if you're willing to pay for all that, the haircut's free.
I don't know how much y'all are paying for your haircut, but.
So yeah, I say we get into it.
No small talk.
No small talk. Max loves to hate on the small talk, same as me. So we're cutting it out.
We're cutting it
out. We already did enough small talk in this little intro. So we're gonna go in to the first question that I have for Max Hall. All right, Max Hall. This could be something small, a big thing, something very easy to do, or very difficult, whatever you want. But what is one thing that by the end of your lifetime you will want to have accomplished?
That's tough. I think this is kind of a recent thing, but for some reason I've got this feeling that by the end of my life, or maybe even sometime soon, I'd want to write some type of book.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of book it would be, but I think that's come with me getting more into reading, and then along with that comes me writing a lot more. But I don't know, something about writing a book. I still don't know what it would be, but I don't know, probably something philosophical. No, so.
Hey, no small talk.
There's gonna be zero.
No small
talk.
words, baby.
There's gonna be no small words. You're not gonna be able to understand this book.
Oh, this man is pulling out every word in the dictionary, thesaurus and all. It doesn't matter. It's all going in there.
It's going in there. It's not even gonna make sense.
There's not gonna be a word in that book that's less than 6 letters.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't. Even if it was philosophical, I don't know. I really like. I'm kind of sick of reading the self-help books, even though that's what I read a lot. But I really enjoy when they are able to write a story, or I'm like sort of like a parable, like, and I'm able to, like, they're able to create that plot and then extract the message from that instead of just straight out telling me. I feel like you're more open to hearing something if you hear a story and then you draw your conclusions and then they kind of help you along with it,
Right.
rather than them just kind of you hearing the same things you've heard your whole life, like these same kind of things, but a little more
Right.
original.
It's the same thing with like any art in general. Like when people create something, and it's just like, just imagine a movie that's so deep or whatever, and there's like no exposition in it. They don't try to like explain what's going on. They just leave it up to your interpretation. So when it ends, you're thinking about that movie and how it made you feel, how you're thinking about it, like what's going on in your head. Like that's what I think would be good for you to do with a book. Like, just try to make something that you're not, or like a lot of self-help books, like they try to explain things to you, but like putting a story to it and giving the reader the ability to form their own opinions and their own analysis of it. Because I mean, anybody can read a certain book or watch a movie or listen to a song and have a completely different feeling at the opposite end of the spectrum as someone else. Like, and that's the beauty of art, like at a fundamental level. So being able to do that, writing a philosophical book would be amazing. It's going to be on Amazon. Bestseller.
Yeah, that's got to be a concept though. Like, writing it, not painting out the message of the story, but allowing the reader. You know, I mean that's the whole thing with art. You know,
Right.
like you were saying. But I mean, there's got to be that sort of concept. I think that's probably like what makes pieces of art, whether it's a writing, a poem, a painting, like so great, is like not too vague so that it has literally no purpose, but so that
Right.
it I don't know, there's an intentional ambiguity about it.
Yeah.
Left up to the reader, but it's still, you know, there's still a path, but you know there's multiple. I don't know.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of up to the viewer.
A book.
Yeah.
We're reading it.
Yeah.
We're going to be sitting on the front porch reading that baby.
It's in the works.
I think my answer would be a very similar thing. I think I would want to do a film by the end of my lifetime. And it's very similar to yours, because what you're saying about like trying to ask deep questions or big questions in a book or in a film, but like through telling a story, not fully explaining it, and then just letting the viewer or the reader leave it up to their interpretation. Like one of the films that I think of when I it's funny because Max reads books as much as I watch movies. And we get so much out of each medium of art. And we talk about it a lot, but one of the films that would be something like I would want to do is like the Tree of Life film by Terrence Malick. And it's just such a big film, like in terms of like the questions it asks. It's literally called the Tree of Life. Like it's asking questions about like what the meaning of life is, like what are we doing here, and that type of stuff. And so when you get done watching it, it's like you can completely form a separate opinion as anyone else that's seen it, because everybody's walk on this earth is completely different. So everyone is shaped by these nature, nurture, all these different experiences that like they're able to draw from and like find their own meaning through a work of art, whether it's a book or a song.
Is it that vague? I still have yet to watch it.
I mean, it's kind of vague, but it's also like it tells a story of like a family and their like turmoil with like a guy who's like older, his turmoil with his family as he's younger, and that type of stuff, like on a relationship level. But yeah, I mean, it goes into like time and meaning and life type of stuff. It's so big. I mean, and those type of things, those type of big art pieces like aren't for everyone either. Like if like reading a book like by a philosopher where it's like extremely dense or something, like not everybody wants to read that. Like a lot of people just want to read like a fiction book and get a good story and whatever. But still, those simple stories like those are those are written from like human experience and like human
yeah.
ideas and stuff.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's all the same.
Yeah.
But it's just how like the levels of deepness it goes into, I guess. But
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. All right. That's number 1. Oh, number 2. Sunrise. Would you rather see, or what's more meaningful to you,
Okay.
a sunrise or a sunset? And yeah, what is its significance to you?
That's a good one. I personally would choose a sunrise every time. I remember I wrote about this, well, kind of similar, and I said it to you. And I remember writing, you choose the beauty of the morning or the thrill of the night.
Hmm.
And I mean, those definitely aren't mutually exclusive. And nights can be beautiful, especially sunsets and seeing the stars and stuff. But I feel like there's a certain energy when you wake up. Maybe it's because you're not fully awake or something, but there's a certain serenity or peace of mind, especially if you're going on a hike or a run or something like that. That I don't know. I think you're more apt to feeling awe, like I don't know, or like absorbing beauty in the morning, and so I think it's just a more relaxing time as opposed to going like staying up late, which is super exciting, meeting new people, going out, like partying, and I feel like you're usually one or the other. Or I mean, it could be a balance. I don't think they're mutually exclusive, but I tend to pick the beauty of the morning over the thrill of the night. I think that's just who I am because I'm an introvert, but I do definitely like staying up, but most of the times I'm getting up early, and there's just something about that sunset, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I would say sunrise too, because like what you're kind of saying, like sunrise feels more of like an out of body thing. That like, it's like because if you think about it, like most days, you see the sunset. It's more rare to see the sunrise. So it's like usually when you're awake, like you're awake 90% of the time when the sun is in the sky, and then it sets and then you're doing whatever. But I see more of like what you were saying, like the sunset signifies like the thrill and the excitement of the night and like just having fun because like you're awake at that time, like it's the end of the day, you're off work, you're whatever, like you have freedom in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But in the morning, why I like the morning sunrise better is because like it's not as like a common occurrence for me to see it, but it's also signifies like that that it is just like a new day. It's literally just the sun rising, like you're rising. It's a new day, new feelings, like you have a fresh slate for the day. And it's like, it just, like, it's like a work thing for me, like, and creativity. I feel like you're a lot more creative in the mornings when you see the sunrise, or that early in the morning, like, than you would be at night. So it's like you're more able to do work or something creative, or just be more introspective and that type of thing.
Right. It's almost more spiritual in the morning. I connect like spiritual morning, pleasure night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I think most people would argue that like I don't know, maybe it's just because we're in college, but that most of your memories and the fun times are made at night. You know, staying up late and getting crazy.
Right.
But I really do think there's something. And there's you know
happens.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think you can. I don't know. That's really draining. That's exhausting, and I don't think that's sustainable. And so, like, I feel like it's almost like it's like a rebirth. Like, seeing that, and then, like, I forget what book it was, but it was like you should chase moments of awe. And so, like, and I really think sunsets, especially when I'm in that state of like, when I'm at peace, like, really truly put me in a state of awe. Like, I'm just like, this is available to us every morning, and how often do we actually take advantage of this? Right. And it's like, and it's always there, unless it's cloudy. But
yeah, I mean, a lot of people take the sunrise for granted because, like, they see the sunset, and don't get me wrong, sunsets are beautiful. Like, especially, you know, Ohio sky is like always crazy colors: orange, purple, red. Give me some blue.
There's nothing better.
Come on, Roy G. Biv, baby. No, But the sunsets are always so beautiful, but the morning sunrise is just like what I was saying. It's more of like an out of body experience because it's rare. It's more rare to see the sun rising because you do. I mean, just to see the sunrise, you do have to put some work in because you do have to set your alarm earlier, wake up, and go to wherever you would go to see the sunrise. But it's like the sunset. Like you can see that. Like there's no way you're going to be asleep at 9 p.m. on an average day. Like so, it's just like it's just almost like something that you know you're going to see. But when you plan out like, oh, I'm going to wake up at 4 so that I can do something before, get some breakfast maybe or whatever, and then I'm going to see the sunrise at 5 or 5:30 whenever it rises that day. It's like you do have to work for it, and it is hard to like be able to wake up that early when you're not used to it, and it's more of like a reward thing that you get out of it than like the sunset being just like a moment of beauty.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah, but no, putting in that work. What's the word? Like your like, oh jeez, I don't know, but yeah, I completely agree.
And a lot of people talk about like you have to earn the sunrise. The sunrise is being something that you. The sunrise is being something that you shouldn't just wake up and look at because that's what the sunset is. The sunrise should be something that you work towards, and then like maybe you do a workout before, or maybe you get some writing done or some reading done before, and then you go look at the sunrise as a reward for getting up that early and putting in some work before everyone else is up, or most people. And then it's like, and then after that you have the entire day. So then it's like this. At that point, the sunset for that day is just like a cap for the day. Like, it's just like one more moment of stillness and beauty. That is just another. It's just like if you work for the sunrise, you get 2 rewards in that day.
Yeah.
In terms of the sky.
Right.
But
that's true. Yeah. Unless you're falling asleep so early to see the sunrise. You know,
I mean, that's the thing, though. I feel like I'm a morning person.
Yeah.
But college, like, you don't really get to be a morning person.
Yeah.
College is a weird time where, like, you can't really... Because, like, most people, I feel like, are always doing something in the night. People are up late studying.
Oh.
Nobody gets up early to study in college.
Everyone wants to hang out at night, and I'm like...
I'm just like, I'm trying to watch a movie, go to sleep, man.
I'm trying to wake up at 6 and watch the sunrise. I'm like... Just kidding, but...
Sometimes it's like that, though.
But people really do. Like, that's where, like, most of the night, because people are busy during the day. And so that's when most of the free time is, but...
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably, I don't know, what would you say, 80-90% of people are like, it's probably more.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like 90% of people see the sunrise every day, but 10% of the people see the sun, or no, 90% see the sunset every day, but the other 10% see the sunrise every day.
No, I mean, that's probably around there.
But, I don't know. I just feel like once I get out of college and this kind of dynamic that I'm in, I'll be a much more morning person. Because that's kind of what I am right now, but it's hard to do that. And it's probably the same for you. Like, yeah. Because, you know, Dylan's always trying to... This man Dylan is always trying to play some Smash at 10 p.m.
Oh, my God. And I can't say no.
Impossible. Impossible.
Can't do it. But... Yeah.
Alright. So, as we discussed earlier, Max does read a lot of books. So... This is a question for anyone interested in reading some more books. But Max, I was going to ask you 1, but I think 2 is a good number. What are 2 books that you would recommend for the entire audience?
That's tough because, especially with reading, it took me, I think it took me 2 years to get into the habit of reading because it's so hard, and like our attention span is just destroyed by our phone and all the notifications that pop up, and it's just like it's torture to read. So it took me like 2 years of like very intentional effort to get into the habit of wanting to read, especially after doing homework all day. And so, what I usually recommend to people is like, don't take recommendations from people. Just literally, whatever is the most interesting thing to you is like that's what you should read because that's the most likely thing you're not going to put.
All right, next question.
Yeah, don't even ask me this question. But okay, so if I was to do something general, I'd probably recommend a self-help book.
Mm-hmm.
So the one book I give to everyone, everyone as in like 4 people, but is called The 4 Agreements, which is a very popular self-help book right now, and it's interesting. So it kind of is in that. It kind of turned me off a little because every self-help book's like the 10 laws to success, the 5 secrets to personal relationships. But this one's actually, they're pretty good. And the way he does it is he does do it in that story format, and then he kind of draws it from there. So, but I believe he's Mexican, and then his somewhere down the line, his relatives were from. We're the Toltec people, so an ancient civilization in Mexico. So it's drawing from ancient Toltec wisdom, which I think is just kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But they're pretty universal and they can be applied to, in a lot of situations. I think the four laws are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and then always do your best. The 4th one is like. Yeah, but
yeah.
I don't know. See, like I could have worded that better, but the first 3 I really like. The first one is just what I really try to do is just aligning thought, action, and speech.
Mm-hmm.
Just because anytime you act against your values or lie or do anything like that, that just creates unrest in this, and that's what stresses you out a lot of the times. And then the second 2 is it's kind of about the theme of the book is kind of about reducing your suffering, and suffering is mostly self-imposed, I believe. And those 2 things, don't take anything personally and don't make assumptions. They're all about this imaginary suffering you create in your head. So like a lot of bad things will happen to you all the time, and you can perceive them in different ways. So I remember there's this quote from Mark Twain. It was like, I've experienced a great amount of suffering and pain in my life, and most of it never happened. And so it's kind of playing off the notion that a lot of our suffering is imaginary. So
yeah,
and a lot of it's like it's purely imagination. So you're creating hypotheticals, like say you're in a long distance relationship and you have trust issues, and so all you see is that person is just they're cheating on you if they're with their friend that's
right.
the other sex, and they're just like you can't help that, and that's just it's not real. It could be, but it's most likely not.
Right.
Especially if you trust that person, and it's like, and so most suffering happens in your imagination. So those 2 are huge, and like the don't take things personally. I think people really need to understand that people can do bad things to you without ill intent. So,
yes,
like someone can do something really shitty to you, and your first instinct is to say like, God, like they, like that piece of crap. They did this to me on purpose. Like,
right, right.
And that's everyone's first instinct. They're like, screw them. But when in reality, there's a small chance they're even thinking about you. They're thinking about their own things and their own needs, and then it just so happened that they made this thing, or they made this decision, and that it harmed you. And it was not their first intention to do something bad to you and make sure it turned out bad for you. But I don't know. Those things are really cool because it's really hard, especially for me, to stop and like I ruminate on things and I obsess over things, and so it's really hard. And then you get it confused when you're thinking back on it, and you're like, I was in so much pain, and like so much of that never happened.
Right.
And so it's just, I don't know, that concept was really, really freeing for me. If you just, I don't know, you don't let your imagination run wild, but you keep it in check.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like your consciousness, or your imagination, your inner voice, whatever you want to call it, like, it's obviously a tool that you can use to help you, but sometimes it really can, like, form like kind of an attack against you and like other people in your life, because like you might think like what you're saying about a relationship and someone's far away, like your consciousness or whatever is like, well, this person is doing me wrong like right now, like because we're not in the same place and they have all this freedom, like this person is betraying me. But it's like, you know, it's not always like that's the case. It's just like something that your mind like forms these ideas about, and I don't know, it's just like not a good thing.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But it's not something that you can really control either.
Yeah, it's tough. But I mean, you can't control. It'll happen, but as long as you're conscious of it, because if you don't know what's happening, then you'll continue to feel the way you do, and you'll lash out at them, on innocent people and your friends and your family, and as long as you understand that's what's happening and you can communicate that, and like you don't often always need to ask them for reassurance, but if you do, then you do. But as long as you know it's probably not the case, then I think you can control it.
This is kind of related, but it goes back, like, this kind of reminded me of the idea that, like, when you're doing, like, an extremely hard workout, and your mind is constantly telling you, like, just stop, you can't go any further, like, your body's going to give out, but in reality, like, you can go a lot farther than what your mind might think. So it's like sometimes your mind really does kind of like lie to you, and I think it's because like there's like an innate thing within the human consciousness that like is trying to protect you. But it's not always like what the case is. It's just like a case by case thing. Like if you're going through an extremely hard workout and your mind is like, okay, you got to stop, but you can go like a couple more miles before your legs actually give out. Or like if you're in a relationship and someone moves away and it's a long distance thing, your mind is like, well, they have all this freedom to be like doing bad things to me, but it's like it's not true all the time. Like it's just lying to you sometimes. So I don't know, like it's good to trust your instincts, I guess, but sometimes
Keep
it's
them in
not.
check.
Yeah, because like you honestly have to. Yeah, you do have to like test yourself sometimes and keep your own thoughts. Because I don't know. Sometimes you can't trust your own thoughts or something.
Yeah. Yeah. No. This is kind of related, but we can get philosophical here.
This
reminded me of Viktor Frankl.
Dude, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In Man's Search for Meaning, he gave me the book. If anyone doesn't know who Viktor Frankl is, he's a Holocaust survivor, and then he's a philosopher, creator of logotherapy. And his big thing was along these lines. It was things happen to you, so there's a stimulus, and then you then have the ability to think about it, because we are conscious beings, and we can think about it and then we can act. Whereas an animal who doesn't have a conscious or a higher order conscious gets the stimulus and then responds. And so you can say, I mean, the conscious is what is part of what makes us human, but it's huge. So that's what he teaches all the time, is because that's your true last freedom. He's like, no one can take that away from you. And that's what he talks about in the camps, is that horrible, horrible things were happening to him. But then he had the ability to think about them and not just act and then respond the way he wanted to respond, or the way he wanted to respond that aligned with his values, or the way that would allow him to keep living, or like keep the hope alive. And so it's kind of the same thing. It's just the ability to think and not always trust those animalistic instincts.
Right.
And then you truly have the freedom to just act how you want to act.
Right. And it's interesting that you brought up Viktor Frankl, because that was one of, like, when I was writing down my answer for this question, that was one of the books that I wrote, was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Because, yeah, it is such a powerful book on, like, when you're in, like, the most rock bottom situation, like being in a concentration camp, or it could be something not like that. Like you're just in whatever situation that's bad. Like there's ways to like internally find a meaning to keep just like churning, like moving your legs forward, like and not giving up completely. There was a quote from the book when he was talking about like giving up and looking for answers externally. That is like, I forget the exact phrasing of it, but it's like basically saying that it is he who must answer, it is we ourselves who must answer the questions for our own life. Like there's not really something that's going to give us answers, because each individual person is so very different in terms of what, like, on every like definition that you could think of. So we have to be the ones ourselves to try to find answers, and that can be through help externally, but it's also like a lot of it is just asking the questions to ourselves and trying to figure out what the answer is.
Yeah.
Which obviously his is like, how do I keep living like through this concentration camp? Because it's like, I mean, when they were in concentration camps, like they didn't have like a timeline. That car is so loud. They didn't have like a timeline on like, oh, you're going to be released on May 7th, 1942.
Right, yeah, no end in sight.
It's like, so you really don't ever know when it's like, when the liberation could happen, or if it could ever happen. So it's like how when you're stuck in this like limbo period of life and death, as they were in like a concentration camp, it's like, how do you find that meaning to just be like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep waiting until this liberation happens. And then for the people that did survive it, I mean, it finally did happen, but yeah, I mean, those are just, some of those questions are just things that we have to answer within ourselves.
Yeah. And that's why I love Viktor Frankl so much, because he was, I mean, when he says what he says, I truly believe it, because I really don't know if I could I don't know if I could answer why am I living when he was in the conditions he was in. But he did, and so like whatever, when he talks about his philosophy, like I'm all ears.
Oh, for sure. Like, he is one book that I read that, like, I don't know. It's just like, obviously you can never put yourself in that position, and it does kind of relate to like different situations that people deal with in their own lives.
Yeah.
But it's like, in that specific situation, I don't know what would happen. Like, it's, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Was that two? I don't know.
I just did one.
You got another one?
Could.
All right, we get it quick.
This will be a quicker one.
I'm gonna see if it's still rolling.
Yeah.
Just gotta make sure. But go ahead.
Yeah.
35.
Alrighty.
Good time.
Okay, I'm along the same line. I think, okay, one book I really enjoyed would be Wherever You Go, There You Are. And it's a book about meditation. And I forget what the guy's name is, but I think his name's John. And I think he has a huge PhD, and he runs this stress clinic, and so, but he takes like the philosophy of Buddhism and kind of translate it in a way that is more comfortable for Western readers. It's people that might not necessarily know what Buddhism is, but I really like it because, especially for first-time readers or people that don't read a lot, because the chapters are like 1 to 5 pages, and so they're just little sections. And
I would like that.
Yeah. So it's really like you can read. I'd read it every night before bed or like in the morning. I forget which one, but he talks about the concept of mindfulness, which I'm sure everyone's heard about. It's a pretty hot topic. Mindfulness is essentially just being in the moment, understanding what's happening to you, and understanding how you're reacting to it. And that's a skill. You have to cultivate that.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you cultivate that is through meditation. And I like this book because meditation's blown so out of proportion. People are like, one of two things. They're either like, that's some voodoo bullshit, like, that doesn't work, or it's too hard. It's like, I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do. I don't know how long to do it.
Right.
And he really breaks that down, and he's like, like meditation's what you want it to be, and you can do it for 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You can listen to music. You can sit. You can stand. You can lay. Like, it's really not like, it does not have to be this super structured thing, but it's all about just cultivating mindness and being aware. Being aware of your senses, and I don't know, just understanding how you're feeling, because oftentimes you'd be amazed how many people just don't understand how they what's happening to them and how they're reacting to the situation. They don't even understand that they're upset, and then so with that, they can't pinpoint when they're acting irrationally. They can't stop themselves when they're about to ruin a situation or act impulsively. But yeah, that's a good one. I'd probably do that along the same line as Four Agreements, because it's just like, you can read those chapters like that.
Yeah.
Big text.
Just a quick
That was a
read.
good one.
Yeah, I mean, on the topic of meditation, I feel like a lot of people, or some people, just kind of write off meditation as like something that won't work for them. But
Yeah.
it's really just like, I mean, just with a lot of things, it's like whatever you put into it and the effort that you put in, or the focus that you put into it, like that's what you're going to get out of it. So if you're like going into it with a bad attitude, like, oh, this isn't going to work for me, like, you're not going to be in the right mind state to be able to get like the biggest potential out of it for yourself. And yeah, meditation, mindfulness, all those like in the same.
Yeah.
But
Try it out.
hey, start humming, baby. I don't even know if that's a real thing that people do to meditate. That's just like that's such like a movie, TV show thing that like,
I think, yeah.
it's almost like a joke now.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like when you think
for sure is. You go to like a...
I mean, when you think of meditation, that's really like the first thing that comes to your
Yeah.
mind. It's like humming as you're doing this with your Indian style.
Yeah.
Or like
yeah,
your
that's
legs
true.
are
Yeah,
crossed.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Oh, dude, I bet you go to Tibet, and you like, you go watch them and you hear that, it's probably heavenly.
Dude,
I mean,
could you imagine like just spending a year of your life
oh man.
as a monk in like the mountains of Tibet,
Oh jeez.
up in the Himalayas?
Even
Is
though
that Tibet?
just
Is that Tibet? The Himalayas?
Probably. I feel like I should know that. I think it is somewhere around there. It's
It's like China, Nepal,
Yeah.
Tibet. Where's
we'll see. It's we got
geography,
some mountains in
man?
Asia.
That's my minor, not a major. No, dude, like just like, I mean, obviously, there's no way you could come back from that as the same person. Just spending a year,
Yeah, there's no way.
like, I mean, I don't even know.
Just like detached, and we're just like a different perspective. That's what I was trying to think of earlier.
Oh.
The sunset or the sunrise perspective.
Oh, okay.
The suffering. Yeah, just having a different perspective, removing yourself from
Right,
your current
right.
situation, and then coming back, and like if you have a different perspective, you're gonna see things differently.
Mm.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd say we move on to number 4 here. Just however you want to explain it, in as little or detail or whatever. Just if you could quickly go through and articulate some of the main ideas. That is a huge
That's a cockroach.
cockroach, dude.
Alright, we're done here.
Dude, that thing is crazy. All right, that's what we get for doing this outside. All right, so just so we know where we're at. Technical difficulties, as Max was trying to explain the last one. So we'll restart.
Restart it.
So, if you could just, for the audience, try and, in as much detail as you want, I know it's in the early stages, just quickly try to articulate some of the main themes and ideas of the thesis work that you've done for your undergrad thesis, because it is on very interesting topics that would definitely be good for this podcast to discuss, especially in the future if we do another one.
That's true.
Like once you get more work in, we could do a lot of time on this. I feel like, but just if
Yeah.
today, just so we could go into like some of the main ideas of that work.
Yeah. Yeah, quickly. So like I said, yeah, whenever people ask me about my thesis, it really ends up being like a roundabout answer, because I'm still in the beginning stages. But so like I really love talking about meaning and understanding how people, like why people do the things they do and how they find meaning in life and all this stuff. So I was like, that'd be really cool if I could line that up with my thesis. So when I was looking for that, I found passion in the literature. And when you think of passion, you think of just it's just thrown around a lot. And so it's like make passion in your work the same thing, and you'll never work a day in your life. And like follow your passion and stuff like that. And it's like, what does that really mean? And it turns out this Canadian psychologist named Robert Valerian took passion and created a motivational construct. So basically to explain why we do the things we do. So the first thing, he identified what a passion is. And I think there's 7 criteria, but I'm not sure what all of them are. But it has to be specific to an activity. You have to love doing the activity solely for doing it in itself and the benefits thereof. And you have to spend a considerable amount of time and energy on it. And it has to be self-identifying, meaning, say I run a lot, I would consider myself a runner, and that's part of who I am, and I joined that group. So his big thing was that he was a dualistic model. So there's harmonious passion, obsessive passion. Harmonious passion, and the difference is in how it's internalized. So harmonious passion, you do the activity solely for the love of the activity. And it doesn't control you. You do it when you want to do it, and it's harmonious with the rest of your life. And so that goes along with a lot of health benefits, and that's kind of the good type of passion. And then obsessive passion, it controls you. So there's externals, and we'll use an athlete as an example. And say there's an athlete, they're like a D1 athlete, they're really good, but they hate the sport. They can't quit because they're good at it. They have maybe they're trying to reach beat this new record. They have expectations from coaches, peers, family, and so they're being forced to do this, and that creates a lot of bad health effects, a lot of stress, a lot of maladaptive behaviors. And so what he does is basically all the research shows that harmonious passion is what you want, obsessive passion is what you want to avoid, and often one can turn into the other. And what I was interested in all that, that's really cool, but I was really interested in that identity piece. And so my thought was that if you have a couple good quality passions, that you are going to be more sure of yourself, you're going to have a stronger identity, a stronger self-esteem, and
Right.
you're not going to take hits in life as bad as others that don't have that. So say, I'll give an example of a student. We all know someone who only does academics. Like, they're just straight school, they're really smart, that's all they do. Like, they really don't have anything else going for them. Say that person fails a test. That is going to be absolutely devastating. That's going to, because that's who they are. And so if they're bad at that, they're bad as a person. Juxtapose that with someone, say that person is also a really good poet, and they write really good poetry. They can kind of lean on that side of them to give them some self-worth, because that's not all. They're not just a student. And so my thought was that if they had a couple of these quality, not too many, you kind of had like a washing out effect. But if you had those people would be more stable, less likely for an identity crisis, or they'd be less devastated by these events in their life. Like, it'd take less of a psychological toll on them. So that was kind of my thought. We'll see if we go that way. But that identity piece and passion is really cool, especially hearing it in the terms of the literature, and not just this kind of like really loving something, you know.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool to see it in that light. But that's kind of the gist of where I'm at right now.
It's gonna be a good thesis.
Might make it into the book.
Hey, whoa. You're talking about those double duty on another car,
Yeah.
busy driveway. Well, and I think you kind of touched on this, but one of the ideas that you have kind of presented to me, kind of related to the thesis work, was the like social identity that each person has, but also like the personal identity that it's like it's not like it's two different people, but it kind of is, like, because when you're alone you are more likely to do certain things, or you identify a certain way, but when you're in a group you don't act the same, or you're more likely to do something different in a group setting, or just by being, like what you were saying about being a runner, like you're in that group. But interesting stuff.
Yeah.
For
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it. It makes it a lot easier to do it when you're actually interested in it. So maybe I'm making my passion my work.
Almost like it's a passion.
Oh
dude.
my god, I'm passionate about passion, baby.
Whoa, dude! Whoa, dude! We're like this right now. Everybody watching is like this right now.
Full circle,
dude. Blown. So okay, one of the last questions I have is actually a question that Max had presented to me to ask me and to hear his own answer. But what is a value or an ethic that a person has that you search for when you're looking for intimate relationships, whether that's friendships or romantic relationships, or with whatever, like people that you work with, family members? Like, what is a value or an ethic that those people have that you're actively searching for when you're looking for new relationships?
Right. I love this question.
He loves it.
Okay, the number one thing, like by far the tops my list, is self-awareness.
Okay.
And I just think it's so encompassing. So like there's part of every person, there's a good, like there's good things about you and there's bad things about you depending on who's looking at it, you know?
Right.
But I think there's some universally bad things about everyone. And so someone who's not self-aware will just go on without knowing about it, just keep doing the things they do, and just like, not that they don't care, they just really don't know. So they just like don't know how that's affecting other people, or how that's affecting themselves, and how that's spreading. So like everyone has things wrong with them, but as long as you have this self-awareness to be able to understand like what these things are, or like be able to listen to people when they tell you, or like give you some feedback, and then try to use that and either change those things if you truly think that is a bad thing about yourself, or just I don't know, just like,
at least being aware of them.
Because if you're aware of it, you can control it. But if you're not aware of it, like, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. So it's like,
yes. Is that a quote from someone?
Warrior.
Hey, yep. There it is. Bringing out the movies.
Yeah, so just if you, there's bad things about everyone, and you know that it is, and oftentimes really hard to control them and change them.
Right.
But as long as you know they're there, you give yourself a fighting chance. Mm-hmm. So like when I see someone who's self-aware and they're like, I know I'm gonna do this, just like let me know when I'm doing this. Like that is so big for me. Yeah. You know, and I think you can control so many things, or so many personality traits with that, as long as you're just self-aware and you know what's happening. Even if you know it's bad and maybe you do something shitty and you know it, you can then apologize for that and make it up, or like, you know, or try not to do that next time. So I think that's just huge for me.
Yeah, because I mean, with self-awareness and going back to like doing something shitty to someone, I feel like a lot of people are in the situation where they might do something bad to someone and they just don't know that that's not the right thing that should have been done, and then the other person never gets the apology.
Right.
And then it's like that relationship is just ruined because it's like that person, nobody should have to ask for an apology.
Yeah.
It should just be something that the other person is self-aware enough to be able to recognize that it was wrong or it hurt that person, so that they can recognize themselves, like, okay, I need to apologize. Like, I'm not going to sit around and wait for someone to be like, well, okay, you should apologize to me before we kick this thing back up or start being together again or whatever.
Yeah, because no one wants to do that. I mean,
Yeah. It's like, when have you ever heard someone ask, hey, will you apologize to me?
yeah. Yeah.
Like, nobody does that because
no,
it's
no.
like, if the other person isn't willing to apologize,
Right.
then that person has every right to just be like, okay, well, that relationship is just done. Like,
Yeah.
this person's not going to apologize. They don't, whether it's self-awareness or they just simply don't want to. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just done because nobody should have to ask for an apology. But that's just one part of that.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's your number one, self-awareness?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that's huge. That's like friends, partners, anything. Like, it's like,
Gotta have
it's
it.
that, even like in a business setting or like in a school setting, it's like, it's just so critical. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, I don't care what you believe in. It's like, as long as you know what it is, what the pros and cons are, and like, you're just able to interact with people better. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that goes with so many things, especially if you like, because oftentimes, like, you don't want conflict. So if you're self-aware, you're really good at avoiding conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when it's not necessary. If it's necessary, then obviously you need to address it. But if you're self-aware, you really can cruise by things and not make them issues. Like,
Yeah.
anything from like politics or like drama or I
Right.
don't know, like, yeah, stuff like that. I don't know. I think it's huge.
I agree.
What do you think?
I think for my number one answer, it would definitely be like someone has to be empathetic. Because I see empathy as more of an important thing than just having sympathy. Sympathy just seems like it's more surface level to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, something bad happens, like, man, I feel sorry for that
Right,
person.
yeah.
But to be able to put yourself in their shoes, what they're feeling, it's such like it's like the next step of sympathy almost. It's like, it's more intimate, and it means that that person cares about you more, that they're willing to do that, and they are trying to understand more so that they can, like, try their best to help you. Because, like, for me personally, I struggle a lot with opening up to people and explaining, like, the things that are going on inside of my head or these situations that I'm in. So just someone that is, like, empathetic, even when I'm not speaking about it. Like, if there's something wrong, or, like, just the ability to recognize that, like, something's not normal, and instead of just, like, I feel sorry for you and just trying to peg answers out of someone, like, oh, what's wrong, like, what can we do, just kind of, like, sitting back, and instead of being robotic about it and asking those questions,
Mm-hmm.
it's more of, like, sitting back, sitting side by side, whatever, and just kind of, like, being there with that person in
Right.
that moment as they're
Yeah.
experiencing those things, like, and literally, like, you're just putting their shoes on, or mine in that case. It's like, that is just, like, the number one thing that I would look for in a friendship or a romantic relationship, like, just someone to have that ability to not talk about stuff all the time. Like, it's nice, but, like,
Yeah.
sometimes people don't want to talk, like,
Yeah.
and that's the thing that I run into a lot. Like, people ask me questions and I just give them surface level answers because I don't want to talk
Right.
about it. So it's like, just someone being able to recognize that and sitting there or whatever, and just being empathetic. Like, I understand. I'm trying to understand what you're going through, what's going on. And then in the future, we can work to try to, like, figure it out, get to the root of it, and make it a better situation than what it is. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, like, having someone sit there and just, like, it's like it's trying to share the same feeling they are experiencing with them at that moment.
Yeah.
And that's huge, because then you're not alone.
Right,
in
and
that moment.
it's kind of, like, related to the idea of, like, actions speaking louder than words, because it's like, I don't know, like, I see, like, sometimes when I might let someone in or open up to them a little bit, it's like they might hear me speaking about it, and they might tell me, like, oh, like, I care about you, and, like, I love you, or, like, you should seek help from here or here, like, I'm here to talk. But it's like, those statements to me, like, seem just so surface level, and it's different for everyone. This is probably not everyone's experience, but they seem so surface level that it's almost not genuine. And I don't know, I would just rather see someone sitting with me, maybe it's in complete silence, and just putting their arm around my shoulder, than someone saying to me, I care about you. You know? Like, it's different for every person, so it's like, but just for me personally, I would rather just, like, if I'm feeling really down, like, just sit in silence with me and watch the stars, watch the rain fall, whatever it is, I'm trying to enjoy a simple pleasure to, like, get out of that mind state, instead of just being like, and there is a place to say those things, but it's like, I don't know. You see what I'm saying?
Like, people, like, and when they're in those situations, like, when you're trying to comfort someone, like, there's so much pressure, and it's like, I need to say something, and it's like, oftentimes, it's like, it's not you saying something, it's you being there, and if you can truly understand what they're feeling, like, I don't think you'd want to talk either. So it's like, if you, the best thing you can do for them is just, even the attempt at experiencing what they're experiencing, and just giving them, like, a loving presence in that moment. You don't have to say anything. The words are really overrated, and it's forced.
Oh, yeah, it definitely seems like, well, this is kind of personal, but it's okay. But, like, one of the, like, this thing about feeling forced is, like, when I first started therapy last fall, it was, like, the first session I went into, it was, like, a really bad time for me, so I was like, okay, I gotta try to do something here before it gets any worse. So I'm like, whatever, and I go in, and the lady, like, as soon as we sit down, she's like, oh, I'm so glad you're here, like, I'm so glad you're with us, I'm so glad you had, like, the courage to come here. And it's like, in that moment, like, I understand that therapists are there to, like, talk, and that's, like, their job, and to try to, like, understand and ask questions to get to the root of the problem and stuff. But it's like, is that really what I wanted to hear? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like I would have had a more beneficial therapy experience that first day if it was almost, like, in silence. Than in silence while I'm, like, speaking.
All right, check. All right, we're back.
So I'm gonna do some editing on that part. I'm not sure of where that answer cut out, but as I said in the trailer, this is kind of very early stages of this podcast, so I'm just literally using my iPhone camera, which is an 11. Not to boast.
That's a good camera.
It's a nice camera, but it's this video is kind of taking up a lot of space.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll figure out how that last question, which Max already got to answer, so that was just my answer. This one isn't.
That's what people want to hear, but maybe next week.
Maybe next week
we can contact him personally.
But I do want to ask the same question that I asked Dylan last time, because, like I said about this podcast, I want this to be an archive that people can look back on, that people I have on, and can listen to, watch, and see what they were thinking and feeling. So this last question is the same question that I asked Dylan to finish. But 10 years from this moment, at 9 a.m. on your day off from work, what do you see? And just to give you some extra time,
Yeah.
again, my answer is still the same. I want to be on an apartment balcony in Greenwich Village of Manhattan. Just out there in the morning, got my eggs, got my coffee, got my OJ.
No milk.
And I might be lighting a cig because it's simple pleasures for me. And I'm just out there listening, cars honking, people walking down the street, just breathing it in, man.
Yeah,
Just,
so you're on a low level.
you think that's
You're
a
able
low
to see
level?
the faces? I don't know.
Oh, okay. You mean of the apartment? Yeah,
Yeah, you gotta be.
maybe a couple stories up. Maybe a couple
If
stories
you're
up.
people watching, if you're doing it right, you're down in there.
Yeah, I got that
right?
kind of bird's eye view.
Yeah,
though, a
yeah.
little
You've
bit.
seen the tops of the heads.
All right. All right. What do you got though? 10 years from now, you're 31.
Okay, so this is still tough for me, but so I'm planning on going to medical school. So by then, should be out of residency, should be working. 9 a.m. I probably just got back from a run, saw that sunset,
Need it.
needed it. Hopefully I'm feeling the awe. But
Need that too.
Yeah, 9 o'clock, coming back, definitely making a feast, definitely out on the porch. We love our porches. Guess yours would be a balcony, but I'm on a porch, and I got a family, so I don't know what time it is, but I'm either playing my guitar, my banjo, or I'm reading or writing. And so, the family's not up yet, probably not playing the banjo, because that's loud. Don't even need an app for that thing. But yeah, something about creating in the morning, whether that's music or
Right.
writing or learning or something about
Right.
that. It's just you're at peace, and then so that's probably where I'm at. I'm eating a lot of food, especially if I just got back from a run.
Need it.
So
You gotta replace those
man.
calories, man.
Oh, I'm starving. I'm always hungry. I don't know about you, but whenever I'm on a run, I'm thinking about food.
We got another car coming.
Yeah, we might. 2 car comes?
Two car
Oh,
coming.
maybe
oh,
not.
wait.
Been pulling out.
just
So yeah,
turn around.
that's probably it. But yeah.
All right. Do you have any idea of where you would be?
No. No. So yeah. You still rolling? Oh, there we go. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I talk about this a lot, and it's tough because I could really be happy in a lot of places, and I really like. So I like the mountains. But I don't know if I could do a city for a long time. But I think that East Coast, like I said, DC, I love it, the history. So I'm thinking probably in that area, maybe Virginia. But yeah, so I can be close to the mountains, all that colonial history, and then the coast. Like I think that's it. I think that's the
Need
spot.
it.
So we'll see. We'll see 10 years if I'm in the DC area.
31, man.
31.
Just
so,
started a new decade of your life.
Yep.
1 year prior.
Yep. Yeah, so that could be the location, but the Midwest is cool. So good old Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio.
Ups and downs, man. Grass is always greener.
Yeah, that's true.
You go somewhere else, you're like, I like Ohio better. Grass is always greener, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to get out,
Oh,
but sometimes they just need to stay in.
yeah, they do. I mean, Ohio's great. People always crap in Ohio. I mean, what? I mean, we got everything.
Okay. Let me just say this before we do the little finisher here. But a quote from a movie, The Last Black Man in San Francisco. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. But he's from San Francisco, and there's these people on this subway, or on this public bus transportation, that are like talking shit on San Francisco, like they're not from there. And what he says to them is, like, basically just, you don't get to hate it unless you love it, right?
Yep.
So for me and you, it's like, we hate Ohio sometimes, but it's like, we have that right. Because we've lived here, we've grown up here,
Yeah.
and we do love it.
Yeah. You can't
You
just
know what
hate
I
on
mean?
Ohio if you're not from Ohio, right?
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
it's like when somebody talks talk shit about like one of your friends or one of your family members, it's like you don't get that right
it's like
because you don't love them. You don't know them.
You don't even know.
Yeah, it's like you don't
about.
you don't get the right to talk
that's a good
bad
quote.
about
Yeah.
Ohio because
That's a good quote.
you didn't live here. You don't grow up here.
Yeah, you don't understand.
You just see the memes on Twitter about how shitty our roads are and
Hey, we got nice roads.
people sleep on.
Ohio roads, man, they're smooth.
All right,
I need to cut into that.
I say we wrap
the
it
jokes are
up.
getting bad.
But I say we wrap it up. That's episode 2. Max Hall. Dylan and Max are going to be familiar faces on this podcast because they're easy access for me. Don't have to go out of my way to ask. Dylan and Max love talking.
You know us, always talking.
Always talking. Never shut up. But this is episode 2 of No Small Talk with Max Hall. And I say that's a wrap. There it is.